You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The ecosystem approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach Show. Are you an intuitive person? Are you more comfortable with feelings and emotions than facts and data? It's likely that you feel like a square peg in a round hole all your life. Oh, this one is for you. Although we don't have a quick fix, I do admit that. We'll talk about how to deal with a world that doesn't seem to fit you. This is a very interesting perspective on a subject that is rarely talked about. Stay tuned. We are married intuitives with over 25 years experience who created the ecosystem approach. This is a groundbreaking way to see yourself in this age of Aquarius. We help you unleash healing and potential that is unknown today and is totally unique to you personally. This is not your typical type of energy work. We help you with life-changing internal discovery that is powerful, rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, what is an intuitive person?
Someone who doesn't think in the normal way. They come to conclusions and have perceptions that they struggle to justify with factual data.
Okay. Well, then how do you know if you're an intuitive person?
Well, here's some general traits, and there's not an absolute definition.
Okay.
So, and some people say, well, yeah, maybe I have intuition, but I don't trust it. Well, that doesn't matter.
I hear that one all the time, by the way.
Or I can't use my intuition, or I'm not able to function with it, or all those things. So, but that's
okay.
That's not really what we're talking about. But some general traits: you're seemingly more emotional. You do well with personal connection. You think and feel differently. You struggle to communicate, especially to left brain people. Come to conclusions quickly and make judgments quickly. It's not, you're less inclined to be swayed by factual data and things that a left brain person will say, well, here, this proves it,
Right.
And you tend towards storytelling versus bullet points.
Okay.
Intuition, and here's the most important point of the whole show, is natural to the human condition, but has been suppressed and discredited. And we're gonna say that if you're an intuitive person but you don't seem to fit, you have a great advantage already, and we're going to talk about that during the show.
Exactly. So why is there such a bias against intuitive people?
The world has a scientific, left brain structured, compartmentalized view and preference. It's not fair or balanced or honest.
Okay.
The scientific approach is definitely a bias, not the truth. There is so much of the world that is governed by things, perceptions, and perspectives that don't fit into a scientific frame.
Correct.
We've talked about this
a lot.
The way Patricia and I communicate with each other is often very, very intuitive. And she'll come into the room and say, will you, it's over there. Or actually, she usually does that to me. I always say, hey, I lost this.
The best one is, I can't find my keys. Where's my wallet? Normal stuff.
Anyway. Yeah, that's very much me. So, and I'll ask her, well, would you like to do this? And I don't really listen to what she says. I listen to her expression. I'm not listening, I'm watching, and her face is very, very expressive. So do you want to go to this place for dinner? Oh, there's the face.
And that's exactly what he says, everyone. Oh, there's the face. And oftentimes after there's the face, he'll say, would you care to explain? And he's not putting me on the spot. He's trying to say you need to communicate on the level in which most people communicate with this subject or whatever.
My mother does the same thing. We take care of my mom who's 94 and has dementia. But so we say, let's go over here. And or how are you feeling today? Oh, I'm feeling fine. So we help her off out of the chair and she'll go, and we'll say, what's wrong? Nothing.
Yeah, she'll say nothing. Yes.
So
Yep.
she's much more expressive. She doesn't say, well, this hurts, or I don't like
Right.
this, or I
Right.
don't want this. The face and all other parts of her body
Or
expresses how she
right.
feels.
Well, but let's finish the subject. You're
Yeah.
talking about me. I do struggle with just descriptive words and directions. I admit but I always have.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until you came along that you basically said, "Are you aware of how intuitive you are?" And I went, "What do you, huh? No," because I was always told that it wasn't right because I lived in a form, like the rest of us, of a scientific world. And I couldn't put my finger on why I knew this, that, or something else.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, well, here's a really good plug for the ecosystem approach. I didn't realize how uh, the emotional part was such a major part of me, but I didn't realize how I was actually expressing it in the world.
Yes.
So,
And now, and we're going to keep talking about this
yes, we
because
are.
this is the show. This is what we're
Right.
talking about.
Right.
But now, because she's been able to balance more objectivity
Right.
with the intuition, her intuition. This seems counterintuitive,
But yeah.
her intuition is exploding. She's far more um, um, capable when we just do intuitive work than she's ever done before.
Yes, it's
You know?
true. But I need to say something. If you're a new listener, this is one thing. But if you're someone who's been listening for a while, the bottom line is I tell the story about when Jason said you need objectivity in your life. I went, oh, okay. And as soon as I left where we were, I had to go look it up in the dictionary. And by the way, I had to do it 3 times for me to go, oh, I guess I really don't know what that is. And so that was one of the very first things I used the ecosystem approach for, or used the clearing for, was to clear so I would actually understand objectivity. By the way, I was raised in a house full of very, 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 and I'm being mild here, emotional people.
Yes.
So anyway, Jason, why?
I mean, when we have the family over, everybody's always talking
all the time,
but there's no directness.
No.
So you ask a simple, direct question. I mean, you get this look like, oh my gosh,
right.
There's emoting all over the place.
All of that.
Yeah.
That is exactly right. So, Jason, why is the world hostile towards intuition and feelings?
It's not understood.
Yes.
Left brain people don't get it.
Yeah.
When you believe all the valuable information in the world comes from facts and data, it skews your perception. We see that love, compassion, trust, empathy, humor, the ability to play and have fun, and even creativity are all intangibles.
Yes.
You can't measure them. You can't observe them. And that's why science.
You can't observe them in a solid form, is what you're saying.
Yeah, in a way that you could measure.
Yes.
Or analyze in a left brain way.
Yes, that's correct.
And so you can't measure, control, or manipulate things like you can actually. You can measure, control, and manipulate things like data and factual information.
Yes.
That's right there. You can say, okay, well, I like this fact, that I don't like this fact, and this doesn't apply, blah, blah, blah. But you can't do any of that sort of analysis on with intuitive information.
Correct.
And I don't want to go here, but I think I have to.
Okay.
it has to do with our male dominance.
Oh,
Men
meaning
who,
in the world.
yes, because
Okay.
men are more left brain
Well, yeah,
and they have the power.
most men, not all
For
of them, but
that's
most. Yes.
changing.
Yes,
That
it
hopefully
is.
that'll change a lot.
Yes.
But um, their perspective, they take the perspective as that if I don't see it,
It doesn't
it
exist.
doesn't exist, which
Or
is very
or it
arrogant.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't
And,
matter.
you know, something just popped in, and I don't talk about this very often, but well, I have talked about it. My stepfather was he was an engineer and very objective, and yet he had this very emotional side to him. But he used to say to me, I don't know how to explain this situation or that event, this kind of thing to you because I don't know what words to use to help you understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, he didn't have an empathetic connection.
He did not. And he had his reasons for not having it. I mean, I happen to know his story. And so and that was his reason why. But the point that I'm getting at is that there are more of him in the world
Yes.
than there are.
Well, we just went to the doctor recently, and we always go together. And we were telling the doctor how chiropractic was helping her.
That's right.
For a specific thing. And he said, and this was the most honest I've ever heard, I have no way of understanding that.
Yeah.
You know, he's saying that medical training doesn't allow me to understand how something like chiropractic works. It doesn't make sense. So
Exactly. So go ahead. We need to finish up here. Did we do the summary?
No, we haven't.
Jason, what is the summary of this segment?
Patricia and I understand how difficult it can be having considerable intuition in a world that is left-brained and structured.
Yes.
We have struggled with these abilities in a world that is hostile and judgmental with intuitive and emotional people. Intuitive people have access to information, perceptions, and knowing that is not available to a structured left-brain individual. Our world today is oriented towards scientific approaches and compartmentalized, validated data. However, the most important areas of life come from understanding and experience the intangibles of life, yes, like love, humor, compassion, empathy, creativity, play, and having fun. Intuitive people are interesting, creative, emotional, and because of the bias against them, have been pushed aside by society.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about the skills and abilities an intuitive person needs to develop to be more functional and appropriate in the world. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the skills and abilities an intuitive person needs to develop to be more functional. And here's a big one, appropriate in the world. So, Jason, what skills and abilities does an intuitive person need to develop?
Just like logical left brain world is hostile to feelings and intuition, intuitive people can be hostile to facts, data, and objectivity.
It's true.
They need a balance of both.
Yes.
That is authentic to who they are as people. In other words, a balance for me is different than a balance for you.
That is correct.
And so everybody's unique in that way.
Yeah, it's true. So well, let's talk about how about rules versus choice and objectivity.
We've seen often intuitive and emotional people, especially the more emotional you are, create rules that replace logic and reason that are often inappropriate for particular situations.
Yes.
These rules are unconscious and often invisible. So
even to the person that's claiming that that's why.
Yes.
Okay.
A great example of that, when Patricia and I first met, we would go to these family get-togethers, Thanksgiving and Christmas usually,
and Easter.
Yes,
yeah, those...
and Patricia was always a primary contributor. I remember it was a lot of work because we lived in this this house that was on a hillside in the Bay Area, and I would have to literally go up. It was almost 3 flights of stairs, 2.5 flights of stairs to carry all the cooking stuff. She would take
all the
the crock pots and
and things like that, and all the things that I had already cooked.
yes. So
Yes.
there was a lot of stuff, and I
Yes.
would take it up, and we'd go, and she would be the primary cook and contributor, and then on the way home, I started to notice that every time we would fight, and about stupid stuff. I don't even remember what the fights were
I'll
about,
agree.
and but I do know that she was angry and bitter for reasons that were invisible to her, was invisible to me, but I would ask her things like afterwards, like, well, so why do we do this? It's the
Well,
rule.
and the rule, yeah, that would be my answer. It's the rule. That's what you do.
She couldn't conceive that there was that
There
she
was
had
any
any
other
other
way.
option,
Yeah, exactly.
and it didn't matter how hard it was, how difficult it was,
Correct.
how much it affected her, or us, it just that was the rule.
Yes.
And in my family, it had a perception of logic and objectivity, but the truth is, it wasn't about objectivity. It was about control and power from my dad.
Yes.
He framed everything in logical ways, but he was not logical about how he said, "This is what I want. This is what we're going to do, and this is what we're not going to do."
And why?
Yeah, because I would, as a teenager, I tried to present logical arguments to him. It didn't make any difference. It wasn't
Correct.
about what he
Right.
wanted, and it
Right.
was completely emotional. But he thought of himself as logical.
Well, and I'm really glad that this piece is in here because um, when Jason said to me, "Your feelings don't always tell you the truth," I did the dog thing where they lift up their ear and go, "Huh?" I did that because, as far as I knew, I had no idea that there was any other way than to believe what my feelings told me.
Well, and it's a big deal that your feelings don't always tell you the truth.
And wait a minute. And why is that, Jason? Let's throw it out there right now.
Well, let's go to the basics. Your intuition is a pathway.
Yes.
It's not a thing, it's a pathway.
That is correct.
And in that pathway, it has access to positive information from your essence.
Yes, it does.
That's trying to help you to grow and develop and be better in the world.
Right.
It also has access to negative information from negative energy, which is sabotaging you, is hurting you, is making you feel things that aren't true. And
exactly. And it's one of the reasons, one more time, that we created the ecosystem approach, because we could see, I was the biggest guinea pig, I admit, but we could see that I didn't understand the perceptions of that my feelings didn't tell me the truth. But when we would clear the feelings that I had around something, I would go, "Oh, could it be this way? Could it be that way?"
Yeah.
And so we started to see a reason, and I say that with finger quotes, a reason to help others understand, starting with me, of course, to help others understand that your feelings don't always tell you the truth because of the negative energies that we are holding on to.
Well, and intuitive and emotional people often can't even conceive that their feelings aren't telling them the truth.
I know that.
And it can be a real struggle.
And it was. Think about it. Go back and think about that. It really was for me. But he obviously saw something that mattered. Let me say it that way. And he knew within he could help me fix what was broken. I'll say it that way. So, Jason, let's talk about prejudices and biases.
Well, since intuitive people have strong rules that overcome their lack of logic, they often become stubborn and loyalty to their own prejudices, biases, rules. That's the rule. How dare you even question the rule?
And if anybody's watching this and they saw I started laughing. I started laughing because I remember there was no perception in my training that the rule, as far as I could see, kept you safe. It kept you on the straight and narrow when it wasn't the truth at all.
Yes.
That was the thing that was amazing to me. So
when we've been together, I would say, well, why are we doing it this way?
Yeah.
And if I got your dog meat look on her face that I knew that I was coming bumping up against the rule.
Yes,
So
exactly. And by the way, it was it took a lot of clearing to get rid of a lot of the rules. And yes, there are still some that are there after more than 20 years, 25 years. I admit there are still some there. So, and that brings me to the next question. Finding balance. How is that?
so each person has to find their own unique, that's a keyword, balance of
Yeah.
objectivity and emotionality,
Yeah.
or an intuitive approach to their life.
Yes.
Hints about this balance comes from a person's unique natal chart in astrology. This gives you an indication where balance is and how it can manifest.
And it really helped.
For example, Patricia was 4 on the Enneagram. We use that as a tool.
By the way, the most emotional.
That's the most emotional. And when we started looking at her natal chart, we could see that she is Libra, Gemini, Libra.
Yes.
So those are all air signs. And air signs, by definition, are more intellectual than emotional. The most emotional type in astrology is water.
Yes.
But she was all air. So she's this emotional person, and she's Libra, Gemini, Libra. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to her, well, you should be very objective. You have the ability to be very objective. And the difference is the gap between who she was and this Enneagram type was dark energy.
Absolutely.
And so as we've been applying the ecosystem approach and removing that dark energy, oh my gosh, her abilities as an intuitive have exploded.
And in other ways as well.
Yes.
Meaning creativity and
problem solving.
Exactly.
Creativity with problem solving. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Unbelievable.
So for me, I was always very mild-mannered and straightforward and seemingly objective.
Yes.
And so I have Sagittarius, which is my sun sign, Scorpio, which is my moon sign, which is water and very emotional, and then Aries, which is fire, which is my ascending sign. For me, being more emotional would create balance. And I'm not emotional enough. You get that? I'm not emotional enough. And it surprises her once in a while when
it does. I admit.
More and more lately, I've been becoming more excitable, emotional, blah, blah, blah. And, like, what's going on here? You were supposed to be, you created a rule. I'm supposed to be mild mannered and objective all the time.
Okay. Okay, Superman. Here we go. Anyway, the bottom line is I need to say this. We have laughed so hard at ourselves because when you remove the negative energy, you can see your picture of what's going on in any given situation or moment. You can have a 360 view of not only what is going on, but also choices to make things better.
Yes.
And it definitely works. So with that said, Jason, what is the summary of this segment?
Often people who are highly intuitive and emotional use self-imposed or programmed rules to govern their life versus logic and objectivity.
Absolutely.
Intuitive people can also have a bias toward logic and objectivity. Mm-hmm. They struggle with the idea that their feelings don't always tell them the truth. Negative and dark energy can use the intuitive channel, and it's always up to the person to be able to differentiate between positive, intuitive information and dark energy. And by the way, we didn't say that, but we wanted to cover that your logic is how you differentiate the stuff that comes through your intuitive pathway by saying, oh, this can't be right, or this is good for me.
Yes.
That's how you do it. And it requires a certain level of objectivity. So being completely emotional usually helps you with intuition, but it doesn't help you with that discernment.
That is correct.
So it's always up to the person to be able to differentiate between positive intuitive information and dark energy.
Correct.
The key for an intuitive person is to develop their logical abilities and find the balance for themselves uniquely. This balance can often be inferred from a person's natal chart in astrology.
Right. In the next segment, we're going to talk about an intuitive person, excuse me, what an intuitive person has to do to be more comfortable in the world and live in a way that suits them, as opposed to trying to fit into a world that can be hostile. I'm going to say very hostile to them. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about what an intuitive person has to do to be more comfortable in the world and live in a way that suits them, as opposed to trying to fit into the world that can be very hostile to them. Jason, we've talked to so many intuitive and emotional people who feel like pincushions, who where comments and little digs feel like they are constantly being pricked and hurt. Is there a way for an intuitive person or intuitive people to feel more comfortable in the world?
Yes, but it's not easy.
Okay.
My daughter, who's a double Pisces, has talked to me about this a lot, and it just she feels like I'm too sensitive. She tells me I'm too sensitive,
Yeah.
and that's how intuitive people feel.
All the
I'm
time.
too sensitive. All these things hurt me, and
Yes.
and I know, even if intellectually they're not supposed to hurt you, but they do.
Yeah.
Or little comments or judgments or body language or looks or whatever.
True.
So what can you do about that? Well, the first step is evolution is essential.
Okay.
Being strictly intuitive and emotional is not an option. From a personal evolution using the ecosystem approach, you can find the balance of emotionality and to help with the pain of constantly being triggered in life.
Well, and can I jump in
Yeah.
here and say it was one of the things that I really had to it was blocked to me. And so when I started realizing that just being intuitive and emotional, the rest of the world, that there was a way I didn't have to be just emotional. What really helped was then for me to start looking at either what I was saying or what I was doing from somebody else's perspective. And it really, really, really helped me understand, wait a minute, the way I see myself and the way others see me are very different.
Yeah.
So that was, that was interesting. So can we talk about the need to develop true empathy?
Seeing things from other people's perspective, even if you don't agree, sometimes that perspective is an essential part of objectivity, but must be balanced with the knowing of your own perspective and best interest.
Correct.
I think the best story around this is, you may have heard this story before. It's a big, profound story for me, but when my daughter was 14, she was diagnosed with lymphoma, Hodgkin's disease.
Yes.
And her mother had died 7 years earlier from that same disease.
In the same place, by the way.
And it was the same. It was a lymphoma can appear in different parts of
your body,
of your lymph nodes.
Yeah.
Hers was in the exact same place as her mother's was. And so we didn't think that was a coincidence. But the point of this is that we used an intuitive approach to determine whether she had enough chemotherapy. And the doctor had ordered 6 cycles of chemotherapy. We stopped after 4.
Correct.
And her body said, that's enough. And we used a technique at the time. We were working with an acupuncturist who would use her body's rhythm, natural rhythm, to ask yes and no questions.
Right.
And he got that she was done. My daughter felt, she knew intuitively that she was done.
Yes, she did.
And I knew intuitively that she was done.
Correct.
So we stopped. The doctor reported us to Child Protective Services and said, without this additional treatment, this girl will die.
Right.
And so the judge, to her credit, didn't order her to be strapped down and given chemotherapy. It's basically poison, so you don't want to impose that on someone, especially a 14-year-old. But so she mandated mediation.
Right.
And we went to this county mediator. It was a panel of, I think, 3 or 4 people that was trying to help resolve it between the two of us.
Meaning you and the doctor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew at that point, I knew intuitively that this was the right thing to do.
Correct.
But I could not articulate it. This is way before I started doing this work. And frankly, one of the big motivations for me doing the ecosystem approach and creating the ecosystem approach was to be able to, at some point in my life, to sit down with a medical professional and articulate our position, even if they don't get it,
Correct.
even if they don't understand, but do it with a form of confidence and knowing that says, you may not understand this, but it doesn't make you look good because you don't understand it,
right?
Because it's you're missing obvious things.
Well, and
just like the doctor said in the last segment, he has no way to understand how chiropractic could help you.
Yes,
he doesn't. It doesn't make sense to him.
Yes, and the other thing is that I know today you could sit down with anyone and see both sides and be able to articulate what you know,
yes.
what you see.
Yes. That's really powerful.
Really powerful.
And the end of the story was that after about she recently she gave us 2 grandkids.
Yes, thank you very much, my dear.
And she went to a gynecologist, and you were there with her at one time.
Well, this was,
and I don't want to go too far into that.
Okay, but let's just talk about following the rules and saying you have to do this and you have to do that, and if you don't, it will be awful. The results will wind up in some sort of death. I went to the doctor with Jason's daughter, and the doctor came in, by the way, very high level gynecologist, and had looked at the records, and she said directly to Jason's daughter, you have to have a hysterectomy, have both of your breasts removed, and I can't remember if there was something else, and go on hormone therapy for the rest of your life. Well, I happened to see the look on Jason's daughter's face, and there was this horror. And I sat there and I didn't say anything. The doctor finished doing what she was doing and she left. And I stood up and I said, are you okay? And she said, no, she had no right to say that to me. She has no idea where I've been. And I said, I couldn't agree with you more. I'll be right back. I went out into the office and and you can imagine everyone, I basically told this doctor up one side and down the other, and I'm saying it that way for a reason. How dare she say this to someone whom she has no idea really what this young lady had been through, and that she didn't know her story, and that for her to understand what she had just done meant that Jason's daughter was going to doubt every single move that she had made. Well, the thing that's the most amazing is that Jason and I had already started creating the ecosystem approach, and we had spent much time really working on the fears and the angers and the hopelessness of that particular situation.
Well, and the point is that's really important is that medical profession thought that she was doomed because she had this cancer.
Exactly.
And they couldn't see beyond that.
That's exactly
and she
right.
Actually went on to have two
beautiful
healthy pregnancies.
Yes.
And she was considered high risk.
Yeah.
And even the doctor was flabbergasted.
Yes.
Her obstetrician.
That's
because
right.
her deliveries were so easy for her.
Yes. It was basically 1, 2, 3.
Yep. And
in other words, those children were meant to come through her. Let me just say it that way. So let's get back to Jason, let's talk about playing for emotional people in a logical playground.
So the world favors logic and objectivity that requires intuitive people to be metaphorically play in the logical playground as the situation demands.
Yes.
In a perfect world, they can go there, but as also an intuitive perception with confidence and knowing.
Mhm.
That's what I always wanted to do, to talk about my daughter, to be able
Yeah.
to say, this is what I know,
Yes.
this is the way it is. And
Yes.
if you don't understand this, it's you're lesser than,
Than
because
you've been told.
yes.
I will say it that way. So, Jason, is there hope for intuitive people?
This is the time that I feel really strongly about. At a time with artificial intelligence coming to the forefront,
Mm.
intuition becomes essential because it separates humans from machines.
Yes.
The advantage that human beings have over machines is related to soft skills and intuition, and that the most important abilities differentiate humans from machines. A computer can do the logic left brain analysis.
Absolutely.
A computer can do that much better than humans, probably, most people, okay?
Yes.
But the intuition and thinking differently and going to these places where the intuition allows you, is amazing.
Yes.
Intuition is the pathway to the non-physical dimension. By the way, we're going to have a show about that next week. Stay tuned for that. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
The non-physical dimension already contains all the answers for this world's problems right now. That's difficult for many people to believe because they lack intuition.
Yes.
But as intuitives with over 25 years of experience, it's as clear as day. We see that refined intuition, which is removing negative energy and having a balance of objectivity and intuition, connects a person to non-physical dimension, acts as the greatest search engine ever created.
Correct.
In other words, if you think Google is powerful, or like Copilot or Chat GPT,
Well,
imagine what you could do with your intuition and go to the non-physical dimension.
exactly.
It's an amazing concept.
Exactly. So, Jason, what is the summary of this segment?
Intuitive people report feeling like pincushions in life, where every comment and tone of their voice or even body language triggers an emotional reaction, usually a negative one. There always seems to be ways to overcome this, but it's not a quick fix or easy. It requires developing true evolution that is often unknown in the world today. It also demands exceptional empathy and the ability to be objective when necessary. Often intuitive people hide or hunker down in an emotional space, but that is not good for their well-being. We see that intuition is the pathway to the non-physical dimension. Free access to this dimension comes from the development of refined intuition using the ecosystem approach. The non-physical dimension contains all the solutions needed to heal all the world's problems. If there was a critical mass of people with refined intuition, that healing could take place. Intuitive people hold the promise of true evolution for the world. And if they can but they have to focus on their own intuition, their own evolution first.
Exactly. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to help you be a better intuitive person in your life and day to day. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you be a better intuitive person in your life and day to day. And by the way, I have to say from firsthand experience, because of my intuition and using the ecosystem approach, I have become not only the person that I truly authentically am, but I'm better at maneuvering through life easier.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so much easier.
Right.
Yeah.
So, everyone, we're gonna do some clearings here.
We haven't told them how to do it.
No, we have not. We got sidetracked. So, we're gonna let Jason tell you how to do it, and then we're gonna take it from there. How's that?
So, your posture doesn't matter. When we say to eliminate, in your mind's eye and your imagination, gather up, starting at the tips of your toes, but you can just gather up in your body and blow it into the processor. Moxie's going to put a picture of the processor on, and throw it in the top there. It gets processed, comes out neutral.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
And
it's seemingly simple. Don't minimize it because it's so simple. It's very, very powerful.
It is
And
very
when you
powerful.
when you identify your emotions in a very specific way, it can be so much better than
Correct.
just talking about your feelings or whatever.
Well, because you don't get to do anything with them. You just stir up the negative
When you talk
energy.
about your feelings, you don't get rid of those
No,
negative
you just
emotions.
stir it up,
Yep.
and that does not help. So, and then after that, we're going to activate life force, the most powerful energy in the world. And when we get there, I'm going to ask you to follow along. And since you did the first part, you can easily do the second part. So, Jason, take it away.
Here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that being an intuitive person is not a curse, but can be an advantage in life and in the world if I develop myself in a balanced way that includes at least a little objectivity.
And I suggest a lot of objectivity,
Yes.
but that's beside the point. Take a breath, everyone, and get rid of those veils and illusions. You don't need them. Put them in that processor. So follow along. I am going to shorten it up just a little bit and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that I should never be ashamed or feel bad about my impressions, but I do need to develop myself using the ecosystem approach so I can have refined intuition. Nice and easy. Get rid of those barriers that are keeping you from refined intuition. Throw it away. Jason?
And to eliminate the stress, anxiety, and overwhelm I have because I feel like a pincushion and I'm constantly being triggered by my environment.
Yes, take a breath. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that the way out of pain of being triggered as an intuitive person is by developing some objectivity so I can use objectivity and fit in as the situation demands. Nice and easy. Get rid of those veils and illusions and any blocks to your objectivity. Jason?
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that being an intuitive person is especially important to evolve and grow because the world is not accepting and hostile to someone who is strictly intuitive.
Take a breath and blow it away. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that in the world today, it is important to be able to function in an objective, rational world and my intuitive so that and my intuition so I can be in an emotional world, which is the best of both. Take a breath and blow it out.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that intuitive ability can be developed and refined using the ecosystem approach.
Take a breath. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that in a world that can process data and factual information faster and better by using computers, developing my refined intuition via my personal evolution is the way to always be ahead of computers, machines, and technology. Wow, now there's a huge concept.
Yeah.
Take a breath and throw all those barriers away. Jason?
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see the world that was that did you
Nine.
Yeah, okay. The barrier so I can see that being intuitive is the best way to find happiness, life satisfaction, and enjoy the pleasures of the physical world. However, it's also necessary to round out that ability with some logic and objectivity.
Absolutely. Take a breath and throw away any negative energies connected to all of that. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that the greatest hope for the human race can come from intuitive people because they can connect easily with the non-physical dimension where all the answers to your personal problems and the world's problems already exist. Nice and easy. Get rid of those veils and illusions to have the hope that you need to keep going forward. Take a breath. Let's activate some life force. Follow along, everyone. Real simple. And to activate life force, the most powerful energy that we have access to, so I can have hope to have a better life by embracing my intuitive nature and also have some objectivity at the same time. We're going to pull this in through the top of your head. We're going to let it go all the way to the tips of your toes. You're going to stop it right there. You're going to ask it to turn around, have it come back up your body so that it helps clean out more stuff, meaning the emotionality, and you can gain better objectivity, sharper objectivity in the process. Jason?
And to activate life force so I can have hope to have a better life by embracing my intuitive nature, also have some objectivity.
Take a breath. That's what we just did.
Oh,
that's okay. And to activate life force so I can trust that there is a way to reduce the pain I feel from being constantly triggered in my daily life by emotionality.
yes.
Pull it in and blow it out.
And to activate life force so I can decide to balance out my intuitive side by developing some objectivity and rational thought.
I love it. Pull it in and blow it out. And the last one, and to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy and have fun and have laughter and joy, but also know that my intuition isn't like something that doesn't belong. Know that it does belong, but also ask, how do I use this in my highest and best interest and the best interest of the situation, starting right now? Take a breath and blow it out. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
The non-physical dimension. And what I put in the title is Science Won't Like This.
I see.
You know, because you can't measure it. I know they've proven that there's an energy field around the human body.
Finally, after all this time,
yes,
absolutely.
Which is the basis for chiropractic and the basis for acupuncture.
That is correct.
But they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
They don't know how to classify it, measure it.
They don't know how to measure it. That's
do
right.
it, all those things.
Yes,
you know.
Yes.
I know that some of the biggest problems with trying to prove acupuncture is that part of it's an art. The way you approach acupuncture with the body is different for every person.
Correct.
So when they try and determine outcomes,
right? If
you have one acupuncturist over here and you have another one, you could have different outcomes. Well, and that makes science crazy. They don't know how to deal with that. You know,
absolutely. And it's rather interesting. But one of the things I do need to say: the higher your evolution, the better you are as an acupuncturist and a chiropractor, and definitely even a yoga teacher.
But here's the point, okay? That the non-physical dimension is this playground of information and possibilities. That's where your essence exists. Yes. That's where people's motives exist.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Ooh,
that's where
really well done.
You can see your creativity and your inspiration comes from. It comes from the non-physical dimension.
That is correct.
So if you have direct access that you can literally have control over some sort of possibility of working with it in a way that's positive for you, it can be amazing.
Yes. Jason, what about the show today?
So if today you said, oh my gosh, I'm an intuitive person, I'm an emotional person, I need this. This is what you do. Yes. Go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for our free section. Go visit us on our YouTube channel, The Ecosystem Approach. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, the Ecosystem Approach, and like us if you would.
That would be absolutely fantastic. So for everyone, we'll connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.